This week's political figure episode, we've got the congresswoman whose hijab makes the haters holler, Miss Ilhan Omar. Ilhan Omar was born October 4th, 1982 in Mogadishu, Somalia, making her a millennial, and I think we'll own that one. Sure as shit a hell of a lot better than the J.D. Vances and shit that keep ruining our reputation. She was the youngest of 7 siblings. Her father was in the army. There was a lot of war and unrest going on there at the time. There still is, and I'm not nearly educated enough to speak on it, so I'm not going to. But by 1995, her family received asylum to the United States and came to New York. They moved around a little bit before finally settling in the greatest state in the Union, which is, of course, Minnesota. She graduated from Thomas Edison High School, and I will say I'm a little disappointed that there's a school in our state named after that elephant electrocuting jackass, but that's not her fault. Omar's father instilled the importance of participating in democracy, and Omar at a young age, bringing her with him to caucus meetings when she was a teenager. By the age of 17, she was able to pass a test most American citizens can't, her citizenship test, and then she went on to North Dakota State University to double major in political science and international studies. Her first job was as a community nutrition educator for the University of Minnesota, helping at-risk communities learn how to get the best nutrition they could get. Because unfortunately, there is an epidemic in the United States among impoverished communities where they do not have the access or knowledge on how to get proper nutrition. That leads to all kinds of physical and mental health issues, developmental issues, and lower performance in schools. In 2013, she managed Andrew Johnson's campaign for city council and then served as his senior policy aide. And during this time, she was attacked during a caucus meeting where she received some minor injuries and a concussion and was hospitalized. In 2016, she ran for the Minnesota State House of Representatives and was elected. And in her 1 year in that role, she authored 38 bills. Or after just a year in the State House, Keith Ellison announced he would not seek re-election for Minnesota's 5th District in the U.S. House of Representatives. And Omar decided that she would throw her hat, or in this case, I guess her hijab, in the ring for that. After winning her primary, she went on to win the general election with 78% of the vote, making history as the first Somali American ever elected to the U.S. House of Representatives and the first woman of color elected to the United States House of Representatives for Minnesota. She's also one of the first Muslim American women in Congress as well, and the person responsible for a rule change in Congress allowing her to be the first person to wear a head covering, her hijab, in the halls of Congress. Simply by getting elected, it makes her one of the most historic women to ever serve in the halls of Congress. And let me tell you what, just her existence makes MAGA melt into little puddles like Frosty the Snowman on the 4th of July. Fox has spent twice as much time covering her as CNN or MSNBC has, and they've given her, a freshman congressman, 6 times more coverage than James Clyburn, the 3rd highest ranking Democrat in Congress and the highest ranking Democrat of color. They spent so much time talking about her that according to a YouGov poll, Republican voters were more aware of her than Democrats. I don't even know why she had an apartment, because she had more rent-free space in Republicans' heads than the owner of an abandoned shopping mall. Anyway, since she's been in office, she's consistently made waves as somebody willing to vote party over policy. She's often drawn ire from her party, being pro-BDS, pro-Palestine, and anti-foreign lobbying, most specifically anti-APAC. These stances have resulted in accusations of her being anti-Semitic, and while she has doubled down on the fact that she is criticizing the Israeli government and not the Jewish people, she has apologized for using any language that could be construed as anti-Semitic. Ironically, much of the criticisms of her being anti-Semitic have come in very xenophobic-sounding packaging and usually come from the people receiving the most money from APAC, according to Open Secrets. She has protest voted bipartisan or Democratic legislation that she felt was too compromised on important issues like Social Security, and she's called both parties bullshit on the TikTok ban, saying that even in security briefings, she's seen absolutely no evidence that suggests that this is at all necessary, and she has voted against it every time. Now, love her or hate her, you should at least respect that she is willing to vote consistently on her principles over party, and at this point, I think we can all agree that we need more politicians who are willing to do that. In addition to all of that, she is a progressive powerhouse, vocally supporting all of the progressive things we all should want. Medicare for all, $15 an hour minimum wage, student loan forgiveness, free college tuition, LGBTQ rights, women's rights to bodily autonomy, and healthcare access. She also supports police reform and infrastructure investment and investment in green energy, just all of the policies that are near and dear to my heart. And I've got to give it to her, she is incredibly brave, because she is a very public figure who receives a lot of death threats, hates, and has been physically attacked. As a black Muslim immigrant woman, she is everything a large and loud part of the country absolutely despises. It would undoubtedly be a lot easier easier, a lot safer, and a lot less taxing mentally, emotionally, and physically to have less of a marquee presence in politics. But she keeps putting herself out there on the front lines for the greater good, and she will undoubtedly be written into the history books because of it. That is, if they aren't all burned or banned by this administration. And she is owed a lot of respect for that. Now, obviously, I am very proud that she's a representative from my state, and I certainly wish she was my representative, but that's not gonna happen out here. Yeah, we're still stuck with Stauber, unfortunately, even though nobody knows where the fuck he's at. But for transparency's sake, she's certainly not without a few things to be critical of. She was caught misusing about $3,500 in campaign funds for personal travel expenses. Now that has since been rectified, but it is something that she did. And she misfiled her taxes at one point for a more favorable married filing jointly to a man she was religiously married to, but not legally married, and Minnesota does not recognize common law marriage. But that also has since been rectified. But all in all, I think Ilhan Omar is a respectable congresswoman with a hell of a lot more spine than most congressmen, and somebody we could use a lot more like in Washington.